down under for the 2023 Pokemon Oceania International Championships. Against popular belief, I am not Maeve O'Rourke. I am actually Joe Brown. It's
But
my
I'm
pleasure.
Joe Brown.
It's my pleasure to be joined by Joe Brown, Rosemary Kelly as well. So, Rose flying Terra on Tyranitar typically. So you'd have a free Earthquake attacker next to you alongside the Talonflame as well. That's two people you can EQ next to.
Absolutely. I mean, we're just going to go ahead and take a look at the leads here. We didn't get too much time to talk about Colin's team as well, but you can see some of the other pieces that I kind of have my eyes on here. That Dragonite just being so successful in this tournament so far, having access to moves like the Extreme Speed as well as the Ice Spinner to really help out the team in some of these tougher matchups. And I think the Extreme Speed is something that could definitely play a role here in this particular matchup, just knowing that there is no terrain available on Eric's side to really try to shut that down. And also, you're just chipping away at some of these more important Pokemon.
And you have to think about the Will-O-Wisp on Talonflame can't go into Dragonite because he's holding the Lumberry. So instead, that Will-O-Wisp will go towards King Gambit, actually connecting there, and that will burn King Gambit. Dragonite going to use the Tailwind here to double the team speed.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because we haven't seen too many Dragonite with the Tailwind available. And that was so much damage despite the burn there from the King Gambit.
Yeah.
I almost forgot the Will-O-Wisp happened.
Yeah, I was about to say, wait a minute, doesn't Tyranitar get destroyed by fighting attacks? But obviously that was a crucial Will-O-Wisp from Eric Rios on that turn because it let the Tyranitar stick around here. Unfortunately for Eric, Colin is now having his Pokemon, his side of the field has their speed doubled for these next turns, and it can be a real massive threat. Tyranitar is already really low, so you don't even want to waste the Terrassalizing on it here in game one.
Yeah, I think at this point you're saving them for the Terrassalization for something else that Eric Rios has in the back. Maybe it's a Great Tusk, so you could go for those Terra Ground Earthquakes next to that Talonflame, or you could just try to go for a little bit more damage there, of course, with the Iron Bundle too. But it is time for a Terrassalization this game, and it's Colin kicking things off first with the Terraflying Dragonite.
And Terraflying for Dragonite has definitely been the Terra of choice we've seen so far this weekend in Oceania. So this Terra Blast, he's going to have that double same type attack bonus boost to it since he's already a flying type. That does a lot of damage to the Talonflame. Not enough for a KO, but that low kick is enough for the knockout into Tyranitar. So that will be the first KO taken in this set here in round 8. Tailwind, though, from Eric's Talonflame is going to even the playing field right now with the speed boost, and eventually Eric is going to have 2 additional turns of Tailwind available once Collins runs out.
Yeah, such a great point that you can actually stagger out that Tailwind. So Eric did a great job of waiting till that perfect moment to give himself an advantage in the later parts of this game. Even more so as well when he brings in this Iron Bundle here. It has access to the Icy Wind, which is not only going to be able to hit that Dragonite for super effective damage, but you can slow down the speeds as long as you are not too worried about the King Gambit getting something like a Defiant boost from the drop here.
And Talonflame is very threatened by an Extreme Speed, knocking it out since it is at such low HP. So Eric decides, I would like to switch a Ghost type into this slot that Extreme Speed would not be able to do any damage. Protect, though, from Iron Bundle, meaning any attacks into that slot are going to be stopped as well. Dragonite goes into there, and then Colin, all he has left is his King Gambit with the Assurance, which went into the Protect as well. So a very safe switch from Eric.
Yeah, Eric is not going to go punished for this one. And in fact, just being able to get the Golden Go right in and straight away, this is a really interesting Golden Go set. It actually has leftovers as its held item. So you are able to cycle through Protect as well as the leftovers to really keep yourself nice and healthy. And if Eric decides to go for it, could go for a Nasty Plot to really boost up that special attack so that the Make It Rain drops aren't as impactful. At this point, I don't know how worried Eric really is in the face of this King Gambit, as long as it doesn't get a Defiant boost.
Right, as long as you don't boost it up there, so that means the Icy Wind is not really an option right now. You would have to try to go for a single target Ice attack into the Dragonite, who is the flying type, because if you accidentally click Icy Wind and give a boost to 2 stages towards King Gambit, that would be very difficult. But you know that the Terrassalization has not been used yet on Eric's side, so there is the factor there, but nothing on this turn. Instead, Extreme Speed will do a little bit of damage, and Freeze Dry should be enough to take down that Dragonite.
And it is. So we're going to see the Dragonite get knocked out here, and we are going to end up seeing the final 2 Pokemon in the back here for Colin. The Nasty Plot, though, for free. Eric is going to be absolutely beaming from that.
But also, this Assurance is going to go into the Iron Bundle, not into the Golden Go slot. Not like it would have done too much since he is burned, but obviously it would have been nice to get a little bit of damage there, considering that Iron Bundle wasn't even knocked out on that turn. So the Tailwind does peter out for him. Also wanted to know, like, Colin was kind of jamming along to the music as that turn was going out. So
I am too.
Yeah, Rose is jamming too. It's a happening song.
Yeah, this is a great bop, that's for sure. But I'm really excited to see how the speeds are going to interact here. Obviously, Eric still has Tailwind up and active, so theoretically his Iron Bundle should be faster. But we do see that as well, the booster energy coming through here. So we'll have to really see how that's going to play a role since we have booster energy on both sides. It really should be Eric's, but just playing it safe.
Protect from Eric's Iron Bundle, trying to avoid a potential Sucker Punch maybe. And Iron Bundle on Colin's side is going to agree that that was the right play, so they both click the Protect. Another Nasty Plot for Eric. That's 2 Nasty Plots in this game. And because of the burn, this Assurance does literally nothing essentially. That's 2 free Nasty Plots.
Even with the Insurance going second as well, right? It's still not able to do nearly enough to knock out this Golden Go, and that's exactly right. You know, Eric's not really threatened by the King Gambit or the Iron Bundle at this point, and Golden Go is just going to be able to do super effective damage.
Tailwind did peter out though, so we are, you know, in a regular speed situation yet again. So that's something that we need to obviously be aware of in the future matches if the stagger Tailwind turns actually matter more than they necessarily did here in this matchup.
For sure, but it is time for a terrestrialization, Joe. And I have a sneaking suspicion. Yep, it's going to be that Golden Go. It's going to be a Terra Water here. Different from the Terra Steel, but we have seen the Terra Water before on stream, and it's just a really nice way to be able to keep yourself a little bit safe, especially from the Sucker Punch that came through from the King Gambit.
Wow, that did no damage at all, but the Hydro Pump also into it because he's Water. Terra is resisted. That's huge. Icy Wind from Eric is going to lower their speeds, and Eric is saying, I'm willing to give King Gambit a defiant boost in order to win this speed tie against the opposing Iron Bundle, which is really cool to see. But the Make It Rain from the +4, yes, +4 Golden Go after 2 Nasty Plots is obviously enough to take down the Iron Bundle.
Oh yeah, it is. I think the maths definitely check out on that one. But that does bring Colin down to his 2 final Pokemon. And at this point as well, Eric has Protect on the Golden Go as well as the Iron Bundle. So with the burn taking that King Gambit as low as it did, you could just go for these double protects and wait out the King Gambit knocking itself out. So you're not too worried about the Defiant boost at that point. Flutter Mane poses a couple of problems here, but you know that you do have access to the Talonflame in the back if you want. It's not at full HP, so Gale Wings wouldn't be active, but it's still an additional amount of damage here as long as you are able to see what this Flutter Mane is going to lock into. That's why the double protect here could be really important.
Yep, Choice Specs is the item of choice for Colin.
Oh.
Flutter Mane. So, actually, Sucker Punch is able to get down the Iron Bundle and KO it there. So now Eric is down to his final 2 Pokemon once that Talonflame switches back in. Golden Go obviously protecting, so he's not going to take any damage there, but he's no longer a Steel type, so it's not like he would be resisting any Fairy attacks.
Yeah, that's a good point. So a lot of those attacks should be neutral, but that King Gambit is on its final turn of life, as we will see the Talonflame come back out onto the field. So it's really low. At this point, I feel as though you could go for a protect, maybe you go for a double protect on the Golden Go, but you have to get some amount of damage down. That Flutter Mane being full HP is a huge threat.
Usually you don't really see Flutter Mane waiting this long to come out into a match, but that Sucker Punch brings Golden Go down into the red. Talonflame is faster, going to use the Tailwind there, so for future turns, it would be faster. And the Make It Rain gets the double KO on that side. So those nasty plots were really paying off for Eric in this matchup as the King Gambit goes down. Colin nods his head there, and Eric Rios wins game 1.
Yeah, so really, really great play there from Eric in the end game, allowing the Golden Go to restore a little bit of its HP every turn with the leftovers healing, especially when he was able to cycle through with the protects, and that brought the Golden Go out of knockout range of a sucker punch coming through from Colin's burned King Gambit. The other thing about having the Talonflame for later, yeah, it wasn't at full HP to go for a priority Tailwind, but it was still one of the fastest Pokemon on the field, so it was able to get that off, and with the dynamic speed, that Golden Go, Omega powerhouse.
Yeah, dynamic speed, one of those things that we don't think about it as much, obviously, as the Dynamax days, since the Max Airstream directly led to those speed boosts that we would think about, but obviously is still an ever-present threat on the field there. For Colin, I think one way you can adjust back, like he brought it back right to the end there, is finding a way to not have King Gambit get burned, which obviously sounds harder than you would think, because Talonflame can freely click Will-O-Wisp in front of it, but like you have Dragonite as your Lumberry user, not the King Gambit. So maybe if there's a position you can have Dragonite in the back and try to switch it into a Will-O-Wisp to keep your teammate safe there. But aside from that, you really don't want King Gambit burned.
No, I mean, it's damage output was just not up to what we would have expected from a Pokemon like that. And I think that did hurt Colin in the end game, just not being able to finish off some of these bigger threats on Eric's team. However, Colin still played that really well. I think going for the Tailwind earlier on in the game was really smart, just to go for some of that quick damage. But once again, Eric just kind of outlasting until the perfect turn of setting up his own Tailwind so that it was staggered, still helped him out there for those couple turns.
Yeah, no matter the games that change, one of the big key factors in VGC is your speed control and your speed tiers. And typically throughout VGC history, really, if you can stagger Tailwinds so that your speed is better once your opponent's has run out and you get 2 turns later on in the match, there's less Pokemon available. There's less access to switching. There's less, HP to try to waste around like that. So when you have that speed advantage later, like literally at the end of the game, Eric got the speed boost there, and because of having that on the last turn, he then outsped with his Make It Rain. So like that is something that is an ever-present, thing that has to be on each trainer's mind.
For sure. And I think maybe a missed opportunity here. It was really, really tough to weave this around. But I liked the Iron Bundle bring by Colin because of the Terra on the Golden Go. It did terrestrialize to water, so you could have gone maybe for something like a Freeze Dry just to be able to try to knock out the Golden Go here. But a big adjustment here coming in here from Colin to bring the Mousehold in for that Friend Guard.
I was actually kind of sitting there as we were looking at the team preview. I'm like, he didn't bring Mousehold in game 1. Obviously the trainers that lose game 1 often like to make an adjustment there. So the Mousehold, that would be able to redirect the Will-O-Wisp.
It would, and I don't think it cares too much about that in the end of things. I mean, Super Fang is not going to be affected by something like a Burn, which is one of the attacking moves on this Mousehold. In fact, the only one. So if you wanted to go for a Super Fang, you're just going to be able to cut the HP in half. So very smart follow me here and very safe.
And we know Tyranitar does not have Protect since it is holding the Assault Vest, so this low kick is not going to be burned this time around if that is what he went for. No terrestrialization. Rock Slide, you're going to need to flinch, because if not, this low kick's 4 times super effective, and Eric's Tyranitar goes down on turn 1.
Yeah, you can see how impactful that Will-O-Wisp burn was in game number 1 to be able to stop the knockout from happening. And in that case, Tyranitar was able to get a pretty good amount of value there for Eric, but losing it so early is not what you want to see, especially if you were just going to be able to get some Rock Slide chip. Where there's a Rock Slide, maybe there is a way, but not this time around. And we're going to see the Golden Go hit the field.
Yeah, Golden Go was so important for Eric in that match. He got 2 nasty plots set up in game 1, which a lot of times players aren't willing to greed to get to that point because of the dangers of having 2 attackers going into your nasty plot.
And it's too risky to go for it here. This is not a burned King Gambit, and so an Assurance in this case would very much hurt. So we'll see Eric start to play this safe.
So Golden Go is going to protect, but the Follow Me will redirect any sort of attack from Talonflame that would be meant for the King Gambit. Instead, it's the taunt, though. That taunt was definitely intended for Mousehold here. Going to stop for the next 3 turns, going to stop any type of redirection there. But the Assurance does go into Golden Go's protect on this slot. Talonflame just going to take a little bit of chip damage there, but now Mousehold's in a spot where you got to have to either go for the Super Fang or switch out.
Yeah, that's a really tough call to make. I think at this point, Mousehold really has done a lot of work here for Colin, just being able to direct some of that attention away from the King Gambit. It's not going to work this time around, though, and Eric's not going to fall for it. Will-O-Wisp now burning the King Gambit and letting that Golden Go start to get set up.
Yeah, that was what was able to help Eric out in the previous game there, was using these nasty plots. So that is the first to see. Let's know if, or let's see, I should say, if Eric is going to go for multiples. And because of that burn, he is not knocked out. Tyranitar actually knocks out its own teammate thanks to the Sandstream there.
I think you're okay with that, though, if you're Eric. Yes, you do lose the Talonflame, which ended up being incredibly valuable if if you were able to kind of look at that and in the end game of just being able to set up the Tailwind again. But you do have the Iron Bundle still, so you're kind of looking at maybe hopefully getting a nice knockout there onto the King Gambit or the Mousehold. I mean, the Mousehold's still putting in work here with the Friend Guard ability active.
Yeah, even when you're not able to do any damage because you are burned and all you have is Super Fang, and being able to reduce your teammates' damage, I guess is a way to put it, is always beneficial. So the Mousehold is still very helpful. Hydro Pump does connect, though, and that will KO Mousehold. That's going to be the first knockout of the game on Colin's end. So now a second nasty plot. Yet again, Eric is able to successfully get 2 nasty plots in these games, and because of that burn and Assurance and no target hitting the Assurance or the Iron Bundle prior, it's not going to do a lot of damage there.
No, it's not. And at this point, I think, too, like, Colin's in a little bit of trouble. We saw just how impactful this Golden Go could really be, and now that the King Gambit is burned, you're not pressuring it nearly as much with those super effective Dark-type attacks. Iron Bundle has come into the mix, though, so it could pressure down this Golden Go into not terastallizing, given that it does have access to Freeze Dry, but the terastallization is still good if Eric's going to call it once again that a Hydro Pump might be used here. Colin's got to make a big decision.
That's a really difficult position because you're already on the back foot, right? As Colin, because you have lost game 1, you've set up 2 nasty plots on Eric's end, and you're burned King Gambit. You have such a difficult spot because if you make the wrong call, does he Terra, does he not? Do I Hydro, do I Freeze Dry? It could really end your set against Eric. So let's see. The Freeze Dry is the answer, and Eric does not terastallize. So Eric makes the proper play there. Oh. King Gambit avoids Hydro Pump on Colin's end, so that's actually helpful for him. But this Make It Rain is obviously going to be a one-hit KO. Crit does not matter into the Iron Bundle and bring King Gambit down to under half HP.
Yeah, so King Gambit is going to take a little bit of damage there, but the Assurance follow-up into the damage that the Golden Go has already taken. That is a nice knockout there. Critical hit. That's a good bit just in case for Assurance there on Insurance on the Assurance.
The Assurance insurance from King Gambit
the critical
keeps
hit.
Colin alive. That critical hit was gigantic there. That's one way to break through a burn, is you can do all of that damage, and now Eric is down just to his Iron Bundle, who's going to protect this turn. Still have the full health Flutter Mane that he was saving in the back, just like Colin did in game 1.
That miss on the King Gambit was so critical there for Eric, just not being able to do enough damage to the King Gambit, and then it was able to follow up with the Assurance here. At least Eric gets a little bit of information protecting the Iron Bundle in this turn because of the fact that Colin's Flutter Mane is choice spec, so he knows now that it did lock into the Moonblast here, but likely will not matter unless we do see a terastallization.
And Colin has saved his Terra for late game to use on the Flutter Mane, which is the Terra Steel, which has definitely been picking up in a lot more popularity for Flutter mains in Series 2. I feel like at the beginning of the format, a lot of people were just Terra Fairy and just try to have as strong of a Moonblast as possible, but they've decided this defensive option so you can resist these ice attacks is the benefit for Colin, and with Iron Bundle getting KO'd, that will bring us to a Game 3.
Whew. You did promise excitement for this game, Joe.
A Bonza? That's what I promised.
I think we're
That's
getting
like
that.
we have like a banger, right? In America, that's what we would say.
I thought Adam was supposed to certify this. Why did you take away his certification?
He doesn't have certified Bonza rights. He only has it on the bangers.
Okay, yeah, okay. But you still took away his...
I'm sorry, Adam. I apologize. He's right over there. He's actually he's crying right now, actually. So
No.
let's focus up again here because we have a serious situation.
Absolutely.
Colin made the adjustment to bring Mouse Hold, and that even though yes, King Gambit eventually got burned, it still delayed it enough by Mouse Hold redirecting it to let King Gambit get enough damage in the matchup.
Yeah, I think that mouse hold adjustment was super critical here for Colin. Despite the Hydro Pump miss, I think Colin still set himself up for success in the end game, saving Terrestrialization as well as the Flutter main to just really make sure that that defensive Terra type would be helpful against whatever Eric had left. Now, what's really interesting about that is that there's been no Great Tusk. Okay, makes sense though. I mean, you do have the Dragonite, not going to be able to be affected by that. But also, when you look across the board, is the Great Tusk an option here? That maybe you force out the flying Terra from King Gambit.
I wonder how they feel about it because Colin has been using his King Gambit because he has low kick as kind of a fighting type into Tyranitar, so maybe he doesn't feel as if he needs to bring Great Tusk as long as King Gambit is able to handle the Tyranitar. But yes, it would be nice into the opposing Iron Bundle, so you have a close combat for it. Eric also has not brought the Amoonguss, right, to either of these first two matches, so that could be that it seems like Amoonguss is not great into mouse hold, obviously, because of the safety goggles. So I wonder, if these trainers are just going to opt for their similar strategies, and we're going to see in Game 3, the winner of this match will move on to 7-1, and at that point, securing their position into Day 2. It is Talonflame Tyranitar versus King Gambit and Mousehold.
All right, so a little bit of a run back here, looking across the way. This paid off in dividends here for Colin, just being able to go for a Follow Me, just redirect away the Will-O-Wisp in game number 2, and allow the King Gambit to be a bit safer. Eric has an opportunity for adjustment, though. Instead of losing the Tyranitar in turn number 1, does Eric decide to make an adjustment as well to pivot something else in and keep that Tyranitar safe for later?
You could pivot Golden Go in as a ghost type. Obviously, it is immune to the fighting attack in low kick that the Tyranitar is 4 times weak to. It could be somewhat telegraphed, so let's see if Colin did make an adjustment here into the Golden Go that switched into the Tyranitar slot. The Will-O-Wisp, though, no redirection. Colin nodding his head saying, yeah, I probably should have redirected that one away. And now King Gambit is burned, so that's damage output is going to be even lessened. Super Fang goes into Talonflame, bringing it down to half its HP. And Assurance brings Talonflame down really, really low. And thanks to the sand, it is not enough. Tyranitar doesn't knock out his own teammate on turn 1.
No, it does not. I mean, Talonflame, at least at this point, does get a chance to go for maybe a Tailwind, maybe a little bit of damage if it wants to. Kind of safe to do that. But it looks like Colin's just going to try to buff up this next attack here from the King Gambit with a helping hand.
Tailwind from Talonflame. Eric knows that it is on its last legs here. It's going to be knocked out at the end of the turn thanks to the sand. And here is another nasty plot for Eric, the 5th of the set that he has clicked. Helping Hand actually kind of was very nice. Obviously, he can't Super Fang the Golden Ghost since it is a ghost type, so the best that Mousehold can do in the moment is Helping Hand to boost that damage. It is still over half HP, going to recover a little more thanks to the leftovers again, but now Eric has his Talonflame is down, but he does have Tailwind up.
Yeah, that was a really safe play for Eric to go for because honestly, you're not really looking at Super Fang as a big threat there from the Mousehold. Talonflame is still naturally very fast despite the fact that it had little HP left. And if you're going to go for Tailwind, the King Gambit can't Sucker Punch you. So very safe to get the speed up. And now Tyranitar gets to come back in for free. And all of a sudden, you're not so worried about the King Gambit anymore because you know you survived that hit.
Right, we saw that in game 1 that a burned low kick from King Gambit does not one-hit KO the Tyranitar, so Eric is definitely feeling a little more confident in this match. No Terra yet, and Protect from the mouse hold on this turn. Doesn't want to take a Make It Rain potentially. Eric is not going to go for it though, as that is his 6th nasty plot of the set against Colin. Unbelievable that his Golden Go has been in such a position to consistently click nasty plot. That Rock Slide doesn't get the flinch. Fist pump from Colin, and that brings Tyranitar down low.
Yeah, it does. I mean, this is such a... feels like deja vu at this point that we're seeing Eric with just multiple nasty plot boosts on this Golden Go, but he's just in such a safe position to do so, right? He can't get super fanged in that slot. Also, the assurance hasn't been enough, and even if Colin wanted to go for the Sucker Punch, well, you're nasty plotting, so you wouldn't be hit by any of that damage anyway, but Colin is going to select the Sucker Punch this time, and with the Helping Hand to boot, maybe this could pick up the Golden Go or at least bring it really close.
That's super effective, but it is not enough for the KO. Golden Go is just going to barely hang on and get the Make It Rain off, knocking out the mouse hold and obviously not doing much to the King Gambit as he is Assault Vested and Resist there. So there's the KO for Eric. He is 1 KO closer. Make that 2 closer to moving on to day 2 tomorrow. But I think this double knockout might not necessarily be the worst thing in the world for Colin, depending on the 2 Pokemon he has in the back. The Golden Go is low enough now, and he has Iron Bundle and Flutter Mane. Like they can try to take advantage of it more than a burned King Gambit.
Yeah, I do think that they would be able to do maybe a little bit more with the lessened HP there on Eric's side, but something to be said about a Golden Go and a dream, especially when it's at +3.
Yeah, and also Tailwind is still up right at this moment, so
that's right.
Colin is going to need to try and wait for the Tailwind to end at this point so he can then have those faster Pokemon like Flutter Mane and Iron Bundle. He does have his Terra still available to him, which Terra Steel on Flutter Mane would not care about Make It Rain.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. At this point, though, it's a little bit risky because we did just see the Tyranitar on Eric's side go for a low kick as well into the King Gambit. So that is something that could be a problem if Flutter Mane decides to Terrastalize here instead of just go for some of these moves. But it's going to be the Iron Bundle instead.
Yeah, Iron Bundle is going to Terrastalize as an Ice type. If you Terra into it, you'll get that additional same type attack bonus. So it's going to be doing even more. It's like kind of similar to Adaptability, if anyone's familiar with that ability there. It's going to be doing even more damage. Golden Go protects, though, expecting to get hit by the Iron Bundle this turn. So that Freeze Dry is going to go directly into that Protect. Now it's up to, because of the Tailwind, Tyranitar is faster, so you have the Rock Slide, brings Iron Bundle down really low, and Flutter Mane flinches! He's not able to knock them out!
That is such an unfortunate flinch there. Colin's still going to be vibing out, though. He knows he's playing against Eric Rios at this point, and sometimes there's just nothing that you can do against a Rock Slide flinch. Flutter Mane, though, would have been able to get a knockout onto that Tyranitar if it had been able to go for that Fairy-type attack. However, this is it. This is Colin's final 2 Pokemon, and they're on their final legs.
Yeah, Eric went for the Rock Slide flinch in all 3 games, and it finally pays off in Game 3 with that pivotal Rock Slide flinch onto the Flutter Mane. Also, by not Terra Steel on there, he takes the full brunt of that damage, which would have been, a resistant attack there. But now Eric decides to Terrastalize the Tyranitar, and if anyone's been playing since Gold and Silver, seeing a flying Tyranitar is definitely a culture shock.
That's for sure. Ooh, the Protect on the Golden Go.
Yeah,
right.
So that's
a double
that's
protect
a double
there
protect.
to
Yeah,
keep that Golden Go alive.
30% chance to get that there, and obviously Freeze Dry fails again. Moonblast, though, is going to connect onto Tyranitar and knock it out. Doesn't even get to attack because Tailwind went down, so Eric kind of just showing off the pretty balloons that Tyranitar was holding.
I mean, this is still a very important turn for Eric. You go for the terrestrialization, maybe hoping that you're going to get some survivability there, especially because the Tyranitar is carrying an assault vest. Maybe, just maybe, you are able to withstand that. But Eric does have the Iron Bundle in the back, and so we'll see what happens in terms of how these speeds interact with each other, with these two Iron Bundle facing off against each other, both with booster energy.
Right, so that both booster energy, we saw last game that it was actually a speed tie as well, that Eric wanted to ensure he won with the Icy Wind, giving up that boost to King Gambit from it. So the freeze dry does connect onto Eric's Iron Bundle, but it's not enough. Hydro Pump is hitting in Fluttermane. That's a really high special defense.
What?
Lives on 9 HP. Moonblast takes out Golden Go. Colin is popping off. Fluttermane is going to live from that Hydro Pump.
Wow, that was such a roller coaster of emotions there. Eric very excited to get the Hydro Pump. Fluttermane wins the attack. What? And the Icy Wind.
But Iron Bundle lives on
Iron
4!
Bundle!
This is unbelievable! Iron Bundle hangs on 2 gigantic hang-on attacks from Colin's Pokemon. The freeze dry will go into Eric and get the final KO. And when it looked lost, Colin pops off to his friends in the front row, and we will see you in day 2 tomorrow.